Wow, everybody, you're back. Amazing. Uh,
Back.
we're back. This is the Heat That Moves
Yep.
podcast with Wayne and Josh and Trevor, where we talk about life, business, and whatever else we want to talk about, as you've experienced already. Our valuable, wonderful 10 subscribers. It's a beautiful thing to see. I've had a busy week. What about you all? Wayne, you started a new job. You want to talk in
Yep.
non-specific details about how it's going?
It's going great. Obviously, I haven't really done any real work. It's all been in processing, but I think it's a great job. I think it's going to give me the opportunity to learn a lot of things that will allow me to progress and make more money in the future. And everyone there is cool. Everyone there is laid back. Um, as long as you get your work done and you actually show up and you're respectful, I feel like you can relax. If I want to take a 2 hour lunch to meet up with someone, I can do that. Just make up my
Oh,
time
yes, awesome.
and tell someone, like there's not a whole lot of like stress about a manager that's just breathing down my neck, making sure that I'm in one place at this specific time. If I'm 10 minutes late to work, whatever, stay 10 minutes late. Like just get your work done at a high
Nice.
level is all they care about. And
That's
so
good.
I'm super happy with it. Like
Yeah.
a lot of perks to the job that I'm learning about right now. So
Dude,
I'm
that's
excited.
exciting.
It's great. Yeah.
Good. Josh, you're still work from home.
Yeah.
Are you going
It's all
crazy? You've been work from home
um,
for almost a year now, 10 months.
I'm very into work from home. Uh, we talked about it today with some coworkers, and it's like this guy joked. He's like, "Yeah, now I have 2 hours of non-productive time back," and it's like talking about employee productivity. And I was like, "Yeah, like I can either show up to work more rested, or I can actually work for that extra hour." Um, so it's better than sitting in the car.
mm,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you live in a spot where I'm sure traffic can get a little dicey, right?
Yeah, this one guy, he said he was in California, the Bay Area, and he was like, "You guys don't know what traffic is," and I was like, "40."
uh, it's rough in the Bay Area. It is it's ridiculous. So what about you, Trevor? I mean, your job is still relatively new. How's that going? They
It's
Are
good.
they still glad they hired you?
Yeah, I think so. But
Good.
what do I know?
Start.
Would they tell me if I wasn't meeting expectations? I don't know. That's the real question, right? No, my job's
Mhm.
good. Loving it. Feels like the right fit. I think like both of you, I take it very seriously. And so I'm constantly just focused on like I get too wrapped up in it. And so especially in work from home, it's hard to like cut it off
Mhm.
and revert back to your carefree at home self that your loved ones want you to be. Um, but it's good. And I think part of it too, Wayne, I think you can relate. And Josh, you're not that new at your job, but newish. It's hard to be new because if you've got high standards for yourself and you want to be good, you have to be patient until you can be good. It takes some time. And I think that's the biggest thing I struggle with,
Yep. I
impatience
have
with
a
myself.
theory. I have a
Ah,
theory. It's actually not mine. I've heard a few pretty successful people tell me this. I mean, it might be right, might be wrong, whatever, but I kind of believe it. So, what you want to do when you get to a new job, be awesome. First, get there, right? Be awesome. Do a couple things that are high visibility. And when you first get there, that first 6 months, and then you can kind of coast a little bit. That's what I heard. But people will still think back and be like, when I first met him, this guy was on the ball, and you'll get the same amount of credit. But like, if you start off sucking,
yeah,
and you try to work your way up, you're fighting against your first impression. So be
mm,
awesome when you start. And I'm not telling people to slack off after 6 months or whatever, but the amount of goodwill you gain for doing awesome things early on is more than it is doing awesome things like a year or 2 years down the road.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I'm trying really hard, even though I can't really do anything right now. I'm trying really hard to do whatever they give me to do. I try to knock it out. They give me like, hey, I need you to sign up with this website. I need you to do this. I need you to go to this appointment. Set up this appointment. Go. I do it. I try to get it done before lunch. They give
Yeah.
me a list. Try to knock it out before lunch.
Yeah.
So right now they're
That's
like,
good
this guy
advice.
is on it. Okay.
Wow.
So that's
That's
just a
good
quick
advice.
little tidbit that I've been told by some pretty successful people.
Um, I've also heard the advice you're only good as the last thing you did, which seems to be at odds with what you're talking about. I like your advice better because I don't want to have to constantly be worried about being as good as the last thing I did. Josh, what do you think? You have a
Um,
tiebreaker perspective? Wayne heard that.
not
I heard this. What's true?
I totally agree with Wayne. I think if you do it early, people just think you're awesome. Um, but I have a comment on a LinkedIn post that I read today, and there's this lady. She like has a bunch of followers. She's like a LinkedIn star. I don't know.
Mm,
He was like, they're gonna ask you. Like when I started, I was asked to be like the digital marketing lead. So I decided to propose a whole e-commerce platform for them, and now they have an e-commerce platform and sell 40% more products. Um, I think we should keep doing it. It's like right now we're like uh, we are different because we're energetic and do things faster and take probably more risks than we probably would otherwise. I say keep doing that. Be more energetic, like not stop. Just like keep going.
Yeah.
See where they put you back.
Interesting.
yeah.
I will say that I have developed a few best practices for remote work that I'll share with you all briefly. Some freebies for you. Wayne, you're in person, so I
Yes.
don't know if this still applies, but one I've
Yeah.
found. So first of all, I've gotten a lot of hate, not from our fan base, for my mustache. People think it's weird. Um, but the biggest reason why I've kept it now is so that people will remember me. Because if this is all they see, you know what I'm saying? Like this weird rectangle, the guy with the mustache and like poofed hair makes me stand out a lot more than the version of myself that has flatter hair and no mustache. So it differentiates me from the sea of other 20 something white males. Uh, you know what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
second thing is, in a lot of conference calls that are like Zoom or WebEx or whatever, uh, most people, if they're not actively participating, like presenting, have their camera off. I go in camera on every time, just so it's one more time that people can see my face. And I do it a little bit early so I can get in on the pre-meeting chit chat, even though I've likely got little to contribute. Get in
Hmm.
on that pre-meeting chit chat, you be seen, and you wear office clothes. Like this is stuff that's like, I mean, you're at home, you should be allowed to be comfortable, and I wear comfortable pants, but wow, see that would make an impression. Josh is on the silver screen.
Star. Yeah.
I would
Mm.
watch this movie if if somebody rolls into a meeting with that background. I'm paying attention to that guy because he's obviously not afraid to take creative risks.
I should just keep it like that guy from was it Full House where he's on the fence and you can't ever see his face.
Oh, Home Improvement,
Oh, yeah. Home
Wilson.
improvement.
I was just
Yes.
thinking that the whole time.
Ah, you just process every one of those things just a split second before I did. Like right when I thought you said it, I
Maybe it's my Wi-Fi. I don't know.
was like,
No, but Trevor, that's a good idea. This one guy is always on camera and like I know who he is, and yeah, I'm aware of him. I don't. Um, I'm not. I don't. Whenever I think of the project, I probably think of him too. But
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, I think those.
Although, if you show up 5 minutes early to a meeting on a virtual meeting, oh man, I'm gonna like it's too early. Too
Yeah.
early.
I think you're right. I think 5 minutes is too much. Unless it's like with a higher up, like a very important person. And it's just you and them. You know what I mean? Like I think for most like group meetings, probably like 3 minutes, my opinion. Josh, I like that. That reminds me of that lawyer that I promise I'm not a cat. Did y'all see that video?
no idea what you're talking about.
If we wouldn't get claimed, I would show it right now.
Mm.
Here's the gist, and then we'll move on because Wayne's got something special for us.
Mm.
They've been doing all of their hearings. The judicial system is doing all of their hearings via Zoom, just like we've been doing the rest of our lives via Zoom.
Hmm.
And there's this one viral video. Just look up lawyer cat video later, not now.
Okay.
And it's like two attorneys and a judge. It's obviously a court hearing. Um, and this poor lawyer shows up, and he's got a filter on, and it's a filter that animates you as a cat. So you look like a cat, and your mouth is moving, and he's on the video. Man, this is probably not good content if I just like narrate YouTube videos, but
Also, recommendation.
that's the recommendation.
Yeah.
That's a
No.
recommendation.
Oh,
Wayne's got a
right.
better one. This is like a throwaway
Gosh, what
culture
you doing?
recommendation. But he's got this cat filter on, and the poor guy is so distraught because he doesn't know what it is and how to turn it off. And the judge is like, "Sir, I believe you have a filter. To go to your video settings, you can turn it off." And he's like, "Yes, Judge, I'm trying. I promise I'm not a cat." So his poor granddaughter turned it on. So maybe that's another great way to make a first impression in a Zoom call. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I remember that guy. I don't even know who he is.
I would judge that person if it lasted too long. Be like, you don't know how to turn off a filter. I
Yeah,
don't
good
trust
point.
you anymore. That's odd.
Good point. Well,
Unless
uh,
you're at least
Before we get started, personal, um, I don't know, personal notes. My cat just pooped in this litter box, and it smells really bad because sometimes it doesn't cover it up. So I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
all right. I'm gonna get started on the recommendation though while you're gone. All right. So um, today's show we're gonna really be focusing on the unionization efforts for Amazon, and that kind of got me thinking about what would be a great cultural recommendation. And I landed on a great movie. I believe it came out in 2018. Great cast. It's called Sorry to Bother You. Has anyone seen that?
no.
Anyone?
No, but
I recommend it to both of you. You
Yeah.
gotta check this movie
Is it
out.
about call centers?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but that's I think the one thing I know about it.
So it starts off with it's about call centers to a degree, but one of the reasons I decided to recommend it today is because a large part of the plot is they strike. Like the callers, the people that call you, the telemarketers is what they're called. They strike because of not getting paid, really bad work conditions, things of that nature. So they strike, and it's really, I'll tell you this much: it's all about one of the call center work or telemarketers. Right when the strike happens, he gets promoted, like crazy promotion, and he goes into the dark world of, like, I guess, important telemarketers. I didn't know that was a thing, and he goes into that whole world and kind of betrays everyone that he cared about prior to it. And there's a lot of other things that happen. I honestly don't know how to talk about this movie without ruining it.
Okay. Well, I would say this. I don't want to ruin it because the last movie you recommend on this podcast, I watched and I loved, and I hate spoilers. So
Yes,
I'm already going to watch it based on what you've said so far. I do have one question that I
sure.
think my brother was telling me about it. Is there like a crazy, bizarro, surreal ending to it?
I don't want to say.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
I
just
think,
leave it at it's a great movie that is worth a watch,
yeah.
and
Okay.
everyone should just watch it. It speaks on labor rights, and it speaks on, honestly, it speaks on like foreign policy. It speaks on all kinds of stuff, things. It's a
Wow.
very interesting movie,
Yeah.
and I think no matter what your politics, you're gonna think it's interesting. You might not like what it says, but you're gonna think it's interesting. I will guarantee you that much. And I think that's it for the culture recommendation because I don't want to say anything more. I just want everyone to watch it.
Mm. I will watch it and I'll get back to you.
That sounds interesting.
Josh,
It's
Josh, are you sold? Do you commit to watching it, or you
Yeah,
seem
yeah.
unsold?
Cool.
Okay.
I normally don't like. Well, actually, so I do like nonfiction stuff. I don't like historical fiction that's like fake. Like yeah, historical fiction, I guess is what it's called. But yeah,
Yeah,
but
cool.
I think you'll both love this movie. I
I'm excited.
I remember when I watched it, I was like a week later, I was still walking around thinking about that movie.
Wow,
It was it was one of those.
I like it. Oh, that's
A
good.
real thinker.
I will
I'm
say
excited.
golfing is a job that I think about, and I would just like, I don't know, man. It'd be tough to do. I'd rather like work at any restaurant, any retail store, but not a call center.
All right.
Cool.
So I think it's time that we get to the main course. Today we're talking about the Amazon unionization efforts. And to start off, I kind of think that it'd be good to discuss the state of Amazon. What is Amazon? How big is Amazon? And how rich is the man who owns most of it or started it? I didn't actually gather how much Jeff Bezos is worth. We know that he's worth a lot, though. He's the richest man in the world. But just to give a little bit of context, um, in the last quarter, Amazon earned over $96 billion. That's ridiculous. They pulled in over 96, almost $100 billion in a quarter. And I read that Jeff Bezos actually made so much money during the pandemic that he could actually give every single Amazon employee personally. He could personally give every single Amazon employee over $100,000 and still be richer than he was at the beginning of 2020. That's how much money he personally made.
Wow, that's a lot
Crazy.
of money. I'll
Yeah.
say I'll say this maybe controversial opinion. I'm a big Amazon stan. I love Amazon. I think they're brilliant. I think I'm long Amazon. I love Jeff Bezos too. I think he's brilliant. I think he's like
So
world changing. And so I'll say this, maybe controversial. I don't have a problem with his personal wealth.
okay, I mean,
I would say personal wealth is tied. His is tied to. I mean, he has like actual like a lot of cash too, like actual um, money in a bank somewhere.
hmm,
But a lot of his wealth's tied to Amazon stock, um, which when you increase taxes for a corporation, um, or when they pay taxes, that's decreasing his worth. So it's not like
yeah, but
it's separate.
how much federal taxes did Amazon pay last year?
I mean, how many jobs did they create?
Yeah.
I think they're building the
Eh,
future. I mean, we can talk about the unions in a second because I think that's different. But I
Okay,
think
I
they're
mean,
building the world of the future right now. Like, and I love what they're built. I love the version of the future that they're crafting.
Here, I have some numbers on individual Amazon pieces, like what is their media worth? Um,
Okay.
2019, Twitch, Amazon Music, and Prime is all worth about 500 million. Sorry, billion
Okay.
dollars. AWS estimated 400 billion. Um, and then the rest is their e-commerce empire, and that's what most people know them for, I guess.
mm,
Yeah. So Wayne,
Yeah.
it seems like you think he's overcompensated. You think he's overcompensated?
yes, and I'll explain why. It's not that I just don't want him to have any money, but out of all the money that's coming in, we'll get into it. But there are certain things I believe that he should be responsible to pay for, like out of that profit. It's not unreasonable for him to pay for it. Like, and I also think that they should be a lot more lenient on their employees. Like, let's just go into what they're striking about. And this is just a very short. I did a little bit of research, read a couple of articles, and pulled some of the things that I thought were interesting. But one of the big things that was ridiculous is how much they monitor their employees. Have you guys heard about how much they monitor their employees?
Just not any specifics. Just the
Okay, so they'll wear some kind of like tracker, electronic device that tracks. First off, it tracks like how long they have, like a certain amount of time it should take them to, let's say, pull an item from the warehouse and then put it in a box and like whatever, do their part. It measures that, and if it says okay, it should take you 2 minutes to do that. If you, for whatever reason, start slowing down or it starts taking you three, well,
oh.
play basketball or you were working out or
Wait,
you
hold on. Wait, I'm
accidentally.
sorry. We lost you for a second. Will you rewind about 8 seconds?
Ah, okay. So we're talking about tracking, right?
Yeah, yeah. You said they tracks their body, and
It
then
tracks your body. They track where you are in the warehouse. They know what you're going to pull, and they have an estimated amount of time it should take. And if it takes you over that amount of time, then you'll be penalized and possibly fired if you do it multiple times. So imagine if they know, okay, from where you are, it should take you 1 minute to walk over to exactly where this item is, and 1 minute and 1 second, like 5 seconds to grab it, and then another minute to get back and put it like on the conveyor belt or something, right? If it for some reason takes you longer than that, they penalize you and they track it. And if it happens too many times, which apparently isn't that many times, they will fire you. In fact, people are getting fired without a manager even looking at it, looking at the situation. You
Mhm.
literally will get a text message. It says, "You've been off task for too long, you're fired." They've
hmm.
got people scared to go to the bathroom. Like, have you heard about all the people that are like the truck drivers and stuff bringing bottles they can pee in and bags they can poop in? Because the amount of time that it will take them to find a restroom, go to the bathroom, and then get back in their car, in their truck, and then like continue their route is too long generally, or they feel like that puts them at risk of getting fired.
Wow.
I mean, I want you to really think about that and compare it to your job in your life. How crazy could you imagine thinking, "Oh man, I really have to go to the bathroom, but if I get up from my desk for, 5 to 10 minutes, I might get fired." And imagine doing that for like a 10-hour shift or something every
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah.
mean, things like that. I mean, if that's making, Jeff Bezos more money, like, I think maybe he should just take a little bit less, hire a few more people, do what he needs to do. Like the amount of money that he's making, he should be able to pay for that. And also, there's a lot of facilities that aren't using the air conditioning. And has anyone? I've worked in warehouses before. Have any of you guys worked in a warehouse?
Long time
Ever?
ago, more than
Yeah.
10 years ago.
How hot would it? How
Oh,
hot
it's
does it get
I'm
in
not
a
cut out
warehouse?
for it. I'm a delicate little flower.
And you probably at least had like some form of air conditioning, right?
It was
You at
pretty
least,
hot. It was pretty hot. I don't
because
know.
you still like at least in the warehouses I've worked in, there would be some form of air conditioning or a bunch of fans all over the place running, blowing we there was always something to be like they always had some plan to keep it cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personal.
Amazon, they have air conditioning, they have all these things, but there's a lot of reports of them not using it to
Hmm.
save money.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like, just the level of we got to get as much money as possible is just kind of getting out of hand.
Yeah.
Another thing that I read was, let's say that you show up a minute late to your shift. You sign in a minute late. The way their system works, you just don't get credit for that hour.
Wow.
I mean, so just thinking about that and thinking about what my life is, especially like right now with this new job I got, I was talking about it a little bit like earlier. If I show up 10 minutes, 30 minutes, honestly, probably could show up an hour late as long as I don't have a meeting or something. No one cares. It would literally be, oh, you showed up an hour late. Just stay late or whatever. And honestly, I don't even think anyone would track me on that. They would
Yeah.
just trust that I would do it. So I mean, all of those things are just crazy to me when I hear these stories from these workers.
Yeah.
And actually read emails where they were talking about the truck drivers. We need to figure out that they were like going back and forth, the managers. We need to figure out a way to to disencourage people from using the restroom in the trucks,
Wow. Yeah.
but like without giving them time or a little bit more lenience on making sure that they hit every stop in because they measure everything so perfectly. They don't allow for someone stopping you in the hall to ask you a question or even say hi or anything that happen any interaction that you have that's like human or go to the bathroom. They don't take those into consideration whenever they're calculating how long it should take any given worker to do a given task.
Yeah.
They strip all of the humanity out of it and they're just like, it should take them 1 minute to walk from A to B. They should be able to grab it within 10 seconds, and then they should be able to get back and do whatever in another minute. So if it takes them more than 3 minutes, then they're wasting our time. That's how they're looking at all of that stuff.
Yeah. I think you're
And
right.
so,
I want to take a second and let us respond to what you've said so far because you hit us with a lot. Josh, what's
oh
kind of your
god.
first responses?
Yeah. So I guess first thing, I think it's a policy issue versus tracking. I wasn't too outraged about the tracking. I can totally see, like, you'd want to know where your people are, like, what are the best ways to get to wherever. Um, for example, if you're driving a truck and you think you know the best way to get to some place, um, I mean, I do analytics for a living. You can calculate that. You can figure out what is the distance wise, like what's the best way to get there, and like ideally you know traffic speeds and stoplights and whatnot. But not too worried about uh, the tracking. But I would say that they're incentivizing whoever's managing that in a way that's causing them to put these limits on their workers that are unreasonable. And there seems to be some sort of flaw in how they um, incentivize what they're trying to have the workers do. I guess is
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that to an extent. Like, I could understand why you would want to track and why you would want to figure out how long it should take people to do certain tasks. But in the course of a long shift, there has to be some time where you're not technically absolutely working. Like a person can't just the entire time be on task doing exactly what you want to do. Like just based on the restroom aspect of it.
yeah,
Like
the restroom.
Now,
you're
surely
gonna
though, you're allowed bathroom breaks. I mean, it has to be impossible that you're not allowed bathroom breaks. So they're allowed some bathroom breaks. I think the question is
I,
just like it's not enough bathroom breaks for some
or
amount
long
of people, right?
for most people, from what I'm hearing,
Yeah,
from
it's
what the things I've read. Like especially if you have like a weird stomach thing happen one day, that could
sure.
be your job. You know
Yeah,
what
but
I
that's not
mean?
every day. So all I'm saying is I'm playing the devil's advocate here, and I'm just
Yeah.
saying that they're giving them bathroom breaks. It just sounds like they're not giving them enough bathroom breaks for some amount of the employees. I get that. I have a tiny bladder and I have to go pee all the time. I would not fare well for a lot of reasons in an Amazon warehouse. But I think to go back to Josh's point about it being a policy issue is, I think correct. It's like whatever area managers, whatever fulfillment center area managers getting pressure from up above to improve results. That's how they're doing it. And now it's a PR nightmare. So I
Yeah.
agree with you there. I mean, it looks bad.
I do have a thought though. Like I also agree that it's a policy issue. But I don't think it would be as much of a policy issue if the workers were able to negotiate that instead of just being told what to do.
Yep. So what's preventing them from unionizing?
Well, first off, the United States isn't very friendly to unions, and say, I mean, that's the main thing. The United States, especially, and where are they in Alabama?
Yep.
Uh, it's a right to work state, so pretty much Amazon or any other large employer has a lot of tools they can use that are kind of unfair as far as trying to stop people from unionizing. They can do things. They can do things as far as like kind of hinting at the fact that if you unionize, we're going to shut down the plant, which there's not a lot of jobs in. It's called Bessemer, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's
I
like
say it.
generally the Birmingham area, but yeah, Bessemer.
Yeah, Bessemer, something along those lines. But there's not a whole lot of options there, so people are scared from that. I've read reports of employees being in like 2 1-hour classes where they tell you about why unions are bad. Um, I've heard they lie. They tell people that, oh, you have to pay, like it's going to cost you $500 a year minimum to pay your dues to the union, which isn't really true because they're in a right to work state. So even if you're in a union, it's against the law for the union to demand you pay your dues.
Mm,
People generally pay the dues because they see the benefits of being in a union. So that's not true, but they've been sitting people down and telling them that over and over again. And just when they break the law, they don't really get in a whole lot of trouble from what I've heard. Like that part, I'll put a caveat of I don't really have a whole lot of knowledge on that, but that's just what I've heard. Like they don't really crack down on it, or you don't get in trouble for really as a company, a large company for breaking labor laws as far as trying to bust unions.
yeah.
So
I
it's been
remember
crazy.
my first job was at Target. Um, and part of training was watching an anti-union video that was very much like in the style of uh like the videos you'd be shown as a child to teach you to watch out for predators. Like the
Mhm.
anti-union video was like it was like if you're on the sales floor and a pro-union person approaches you, disengage the conversation and walk away and find an adult. Like it was very much that kind of vibe of they were like like these dangerous unionizers are out there and they'll talk to you and it was like it was funny then and I was 16 and it's still funny now.
Mhm.
I mean, I think I think what's really interesting about this whole conversation is like I think in general, Wayne, absolutely I agree with you that they should do more to make the conditions better. Um I want to kind of draw out a couple of themes that I see as being like this interesting tension. One, um, the simple fact is that they want people to behave like robots because
Yes.
eventually those same people will be replaced by robots. Like, and that's what terrifies me. And that gets you down to the whole crux of like, I think why unions have become less powerful in America. And then I want to bring up a counterpoint in just a second, but I mean, unions increasing wages either promotes globalization and offshoring of labor, which can't happen for warehouse workers. They got to be here, or it accelerates the adoption of drone technology, artificial intelligence technology, which is more likely in the Amazon example. And I'm sure what they'll get to eventually, like I guarantee, well, I don't guarantee you, but a good bet would be that 30 to 40 years from now, the
Hmm.
millions of I think it's 1.3 million Americans they employ, which is crazy. Uh, they'll be robots will be doing their jobs. So it's like that's the whole thing. Is it's like there's a sweet spot now. At the same
I,
time, if the technology is still too expensive or it's not there because of the fact that their labor can't be offshored, they're actually in a pretty good position to negotiate. Because it's like if the technology is so expensive, so then it almost becomes a matter of increased marginal costs. Like, what's the increase? Like, is giving the union what they want in terms of either decreased productivity or increased wages, how does that compare to the cost of them adopting more autonomous technology? So I think that's the balancing act there. Deliveries is nowhere close. You know what I mean? So now autonomous shipping is very close, but autonomous deliveries, like to your doorstep, it's not there. So
Mhm.
it's like, to my mind, the truck drivers have a really good spot to negotiate from. The warehouse workers, that's straight up drone work. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just straight up drone work. Like, software it tells them the optimal path. All they're doing is pulling stuff from bins. So it's like, to me, that's really close. Um,
With
I,
but at the same time, it's like a couple fulfillment centers here and there that unionize. I think they should do it. I think they should do it.
mhm.
Now's the only time. The longer they wait, the less likely
Yeah,
it's going to be
that's
to have it
that's
happen.
what I'm thinking. I I was kind of thinking when you were talking about the like robots taking the jobs and everything like that. I definitely think first off, I think we're on that path right now. Like if nothing happens, then that's obviously where we're going, right? And I don't know that I'm not saying that unions could save us or anything or save people from that. I don't really think that's the thing either. But I do think that if the union movement got strong enough, gained enough power, they could slow that transition and make their lives better for people up until that point. Because
You
then they
know,
could negotiate that. They could negotiate it at least in a way that delays it, in my opinion. But if we just keep letting, you know, the people that own the company make all the decisions, and the workers have no power, then they're at the mercy of those people. And at the very moment where it makes more money to have robots than people, they're gonna do it.
I'd do it
I know you would, Josh. I know you would.
because you should do it. It's better for everyone. It's better for all the consumers. It allows them to do something different, and it's just like not embracing the inevitable of
Eh,
technological advancement.
yeah,
Um,
you're right. They should just all learn to code, right?
hmm,
They should just all learn to code.
um, probably not. um, yeah, I think that's definitely a topic we should talk about sometime. But like, should um, maybe not should we embrace automation? I think you should. But like, what the effects of that are going to be?
All right. I mean, I would say sure, but like, okay, in a scenario where everything's automated, first off, you think it's just going to be warehouse workers and truck drivers. It's not. It's going to get to the point where virtually everything under C-suite is damn near automated.
Well, I think a lot of the tech jobs are going to be automated before a lot of the physical jobs are. For example, I was talking to this guy who founded a software company. He has about 12 developers.
Hmm.
He had to let go two of his developers. He uses Amazon, and apparently and they're I don't it's too technical for me, but they created some database service that was much cheaper that they gave to him for free as part of his using their products that kind of made the database administrator's job redundant, so they had to let him go. Which sucks, but it's just um, I assume they retrained, did something else. But that's just automation is going to affect probably more technological based jobs faster than I would expect something like a delivery or something to be affected.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think, Wayne, I think you're right. I think it's just a matter of when. And I think that the Amazon workers will happen far sooner than the rest. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, like, it's so
Especially if they
close.
don't unionize. If they don't, then
See, I have the opposite opinion. I think if they do unionize, that's only going to accelerate the adoption of more autonomous technology because all of
uh,
a sudden your labor costs just increase by a lot. It's a lot of
yeah, but
bodies.
I think I guess it depends. So let's say one warehouse or a couple warehouses unionized, but if they all did it, then I feel like it would help make it a little bit more difficult for them to do because they would have to negotiate all that. There would be people watching kind of the development, and it would also end up being like a if they all stood like just imagine if they all stood together as a block and were like if you shut down these fire all these people because you're going to replace them with robots, then we're all going to just like go on strike and
I see.
break stuff.
Yeah,
Then
I see.
it could delay it. I mean, I'm not saying it'll delay it for very long, but I think
Yeah,
that if they organized and had like organized power to fight back against it, it could delay it and at the very least make things a little bit better while in the last days of normal people having jobs. It would be a little bit better.
yeah.
I mean,
I see what
I
you're
don't
saying.
know. I don't know of a positive ending for this necessarily.
Well, in the
Long
short term,
term,
like
huh?
better bathroom or more frequent bathroom breaks or more work-friendly conditions would be positives.
Yeah, I guess now I'm kind of getting into the whole automation thing. Like long term, I don't know how that's gonna be a overall good thing for the entire country or the entire world because people need something to do.
I agree. And I think,
And
with well, I was gonna say, I mean, we can I think that's a whole episode in and of itself. So
Yeah,
I almost shy away from going down there now for that
sure.
reason. Because I think we can talk about it more in depth later, but I think that's Andrew Yang's whole platform, right? So I think he's thinking the same thing you are with universal basic income. But I mean, I think when it comes down to it, here's what I think will happen. It's a lot of bad PR for Amazon, right? So I think
Mhm.
as gestures, they'll probably relax some of these really strict policies. Um, Now, I also know uh, several people that have worked in Amazon fulfillment centers and that have really, really liked the jobs. And they don't have college educations and they make great money for
When
not
was
having a
this?
college education.
Is this like recently?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. Now, but
Hmm.
at the same time, these stories about Amazon's working conditions are not new either. They're years old. I mean, like the temperature, the AC thing is years old.
Hmm.
That's years old. But I think we're seeing bad PR at such a scale that I think Amazon's going to have to do something. Um, the other thing I want to point out is that I don't want to seem like a Jeff Bezos fanboy, but it's not just his fault. Like we can't demonize him and point to his personal wealth because that's like that's just a lot to ask of like he would not have gotten where he was if he was just I know some CEOs do this. Like you talk about Costco or whatever. You don't get to Bezos level and think, uh, yeah, I'm going to forego the net worth that I've gained during the pandemic, which is not cash, but it's just Amazon became more essential. So it's net worth. It's not liquid right now. You can't, a guy that gets to that spot is not going to make decisions where he's like, yeah, I'm going to sell off a bunch of stock to give people bonuses. So the only thing I just want to say is that I don't think it's worth demonizing him because he's got a fiduciary responsibility to drive shareholder value. I think this is just like capitalism. We're just like staring capitalism in the face, and it doesn't care as much about bathroom breaks as it does increasing
Yeah.
return to
I
shareholders. You know what I
mean,
mean?
at least do like PPE and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
maybe hire people to do the COVID testing. Like there was another story that I read. There was a woman who was literally just a warehouse worker that they assigned to test people for COVID, and they didn't give her PPE, and she died of COVID.
Oh, really?
I mean,
I shouldn't
some of
have
these
laughed
things
there.
some of these things are just kind of like, okay, I mean, that wouldn't have cost that much money in your freaking Amazon. And we don't even have to make it about Jeff Bezos. You're like your freaking Amazon, you made almost $100 billion last quarter. You could have paid for like proper PPE and done some things to make it safer for your
Yeah.
employees.
there are little boxes of PPE probably floating through the storage or the Amazon center. Just open one up, take some PPE. You'd be good.
Yeah. And then someone gets a like half open box of masks and record it And I guarantee you, Amazon would know who took it too.
Yep.
'Cause it's
Maybe.
tracking everyone.
They've been messing up recently. I've got some weird, orders, but
Really? Incorrect
yeah,
orders?
well, I'll not get it's happened twice this year, which hasn't happened before. I'll get, like, in the last 12 months. I won't get something, and then I'll say, like, "Oh, Amazon, I didn't get something." So they refund me, which has been nice. But then I'll get the thing, like, multiple weeks later, and I'm like, "Huh."
That actually happened to me probably about 5 months ago. It was
Oh.
dope.
Yeah.
So that's a recommendation right there. If there's any delay in your Amazon order, ask for a refund.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is a complicated issue. I mean, I think also too, I don't think that I don't think the vote will pass. I don't think the union will happen. I just don't.
Probably
For
not.
all the reasons you said at the beginning of the show, Wayne. I just don't think it's going to happen. Like, and I think that these are the only blue collar growing number of jobs we've got left. You know, like the only category of blue collar jobs that are growing. And that's why it's like it's so tough because it's like you were saying earlier, Wayne. It just depends if this is going to speed up those jobs being taken away due to automation. Then it's defeating the purpose. Like it's short term gains over long term, you know, like
But not
value.
having isn't going to stop it from happening either.
Yeah. So that's why
So
I almost wonder then if the best possible outcome is that these union votes generate enough bad PR that Amazon makes their, like employment policies a little bit more worker friendly. Um,
mm,
and maybe that's kind of the best of both worlds. Like that's
I
why
feel
I
like
almost think I just don't like these
I
people
feel
I
like
know that
that's
have
the
these
worst
jobs.
of both worlds because then it still increases the cost of employing people, right? Even if it's not by the same degree, it
Yeah,
still
yeah.
increases. But
Yep.
then also the workers aren't going to be organized, so they can't really fight back against any automation efforts.
Yeah.
So I mean, but that's the thing. But
I think the
me
the
personally, what
automation at the moment, though, it's just the
Hmm?
work conditions, right?
I didn't understand that at all.
Like, the reason they're unionizing is for working conditions, not
Yep.
automation.
Yeah, but we just went on a tangent with automation.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah. Okay, that's fine.
like, will unionization speed it up? Will it slow it down? The fact of the matter is, we don't really know until it happens. But we also know that it's probably coming down the pipe anyway.
Yeah.
So I would rather them unionize, have at least an organized front to fight back against it. And given the fact that they're probably on borrowed time, I would want them to have, a better few years of working rather than it all just be crap.
Okay.
Because because I mean, I just think about like the jobs I've had, and I've had crappy jobs, and I've had you know pretty nice jobs, especially now. And I just think, to a certain degree, some of the perks I have, I feel like should be more common than they are.
Yeah. You have 3 degrees though.
I got to be honest, I'm pretty sure I didn't use like two of them for, for this job.
Josh has four
Uh,
degrees. I have 3 degrees. I don't think that that makes us better, but all I know, and again, I knew these two random people from Texas that worked in Amazon warehouses, and for them, it was like the most money they could make by a long shot. The conditions suck. Yeah. Is the wage commensurate with the sucky working conditions? That's the question. I think fundamentally that's the question. With a $15 an hour starting rate, I don't know. It's tough, man. But Wayne,
I
what I
think
appreciate is I like your realistic kind of uh, point that you just made of like, is automation inevitable? Yes. Should they try and make it a little bit better for themselves in the short run? I think that's realistic.
yeah. And I think the fact that you have friends that were like, "This is the best I'm going to be able to do," I think that just a statement of a bigger problem that we're having right now. Like, there's not enough opportunity. Like, I truly believe that for the most part, the people that are successful, I mean, yeah, there's like hard work, but a lot of people that aren't successful work hard. Yeah, maybe they're smart, but there's a lot of I've met some smart people that don't that work in the most like you wouldn't expected places. So a lot of it is really just like who do you know, where did you grow up, and we need to figure out a way to make to where people can survive without working themselves to death or going to school and getting 4 to 3 degrees or whatever. We just need to make it to where people can live a decent life. Like in general, if they're willing to work hard, that like being able to go to the bathroom should be a basic thing to get with working hard. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
Maybe you shouldn't have
I
to.
don't know why I think that. It's just how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, unions are the way that happened in the first place. Like before unions, people were starting to go into work at 10. We didn't have 8-hour work days. Like there's so many things that we take for granted now that the only reason we have them are because of unions. So I'm kind of a
that's true.
union guy. So
But also, unions are the reason why after shipping containers and the global supply chain got ironed out, all those manufacturing jobs went overseas because shipping costs got sufficiently low. So it's like, yes, they established those norms, but high wages are also the reason why that stuff went elsewhere. And that's the double edge of the sword. That yeah,
yeah, I mean, but would you rather that we just never had, an 8-hour workday or child labor laws or any of that stuff? Like, I still think it was a net positive for our country and for the world in general, personally.
yeah, yeah.
So
I don't
that's
know.
why I roll with unions. Like,
You should
Yeah,
join a union. Find a union to join.
I mean, I don't think there's one where I work, and honestly, I feel like they treat us like we're in a union anyway. So, but if there was one, I would join it just to be in a union. I think, but
Yeah,
there's not one. But I don't think they have a risk of people wanting to unionize based on how I've been treated so far.
yeah. That sounds like that's right.
So, I
uh,
mean, yeah,
uh, it's complicated. I mean, we all agree we don't want people to have to pee in bottles. We all agree people should have AC and PPE, but it's honestly just a straight up economics where things get ambiguous.
yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, treating, you know, those things do cost money. So,
Yeah, yeah. Man, I love Amazon. Um, I love people too, but well, now I feel kind of sad. Should we end on a lighter note?
yeah, and on a lighter note.
Um,
sure, yeah.
so I think let's do. Oh, you
Okay.
got an idea? Go ahead. We can do a
I have an
couple.
idea. Share your worst job, like working conditions you worked in. I have a good one.
Ooh.
Okay, I
Okay.
got one. I
Okay,
got
Josh. Josh, you go first.
So I guess I'm not going to use a name. The company that Trevor used to work for, I also used to work for. It was my first job out of high school. Um, I was on the swim team, and I would get up at like 6:15 or whatever, um, and drive to some complex and swim for 2 hours, come back. This summer, turned 16. I wanted a job. Got a job cooking burgers. One day, my shifts went from like 4 to well, probably was like 5 to 2 in the morning. Some crazy for me hours, especially if you wake up at 6 something to go swimming. It's about 104 outside, and the they're like, oh, we can like our fires still work. You can still cook. So they're like, hey, you should go back there, flip some burgers, and um, serve all these customers while it's 104 degrees outside. So inside, it was higher than that. I don't know what it was, but I was around a bunch of stoves and fryers and things, and I'm pretty sure. Well, I felt bad for the customers. I'm 90% sure, their burgers were kind of soggy. But yeah, that's my worst experience working.
Ugh, so just kitchen work in like the
Work.
heat of
I've been there.
heats.
Not good. Not good. Yeah.
Yeah, Wayne.
Okay, yeah. So I've got a lot of like crappy work stories. And so I'm gonna pick a job that at the time I appreciated and like I thought it was a pretty decent job for what it was at the time. But as I got older and matured and kind of started to understand what was happening, it was kind of messed up. So I was working at this place. They manufacture a lot of things for like road construction slash. One of the main things that I remember making was okay, on like Northwest Expressway or on highways, how there'll be those metal poles in the
Mm,
median, and they'll be connected by like cable.
yeah.
We made those, right? And so I worked with a lot of welders and things like that. They were all older than me, and I was like 19, right? And so, as a 19-year-old kid that was like young and skinny and agile and able to do whatever, I kept getting all these random jobs where they would have me like jump up on like a dumpster, right? So I jump up on like this metal dumpster, and just imagine inside the dumpster would be just spare pieces of metal, like metal sheets and things like that, right? No harness, no safety equipment, no nothing. My job was basically to get up there and either like throw stuff in and do stuff like that, right? But I'm just standing on the corner. I look back on that as an adult, and I think, what would have happened if I accidentally fallen in?
Um,
There's like really sharp pieces of metal completely filling this thing, and still would have been a decent drop for me to even get to the metal. So I'm pretty sure I would have been impaled. Like I easily could have been killed, and that was something that I did all the time, not really understanding not thinking about it. Like I was just a young kid, just oh yeah, I could do that. And I would just jump up, and I was probably making like I don't know, $10 an hour, something like that.
Dude, I got 5.25 an hour. That was ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, I've made like five something an hour too.
Yeah,
That's why I thought this was such a great job because the job before that I was making like $6 an hour.
I mean, that's 40%
So
more. That's pretty good.
yeah, so I was like, sure, I'll jump up on this on the edge of this dumpster and throw extra metal shards into this huge vat of metal shards and just hope I don't fall in because there's no harness or anything to protect me. Did that probably every other day for 2, 3 months.
same.
Wow.
Didn't
I'm
even
glad
think
you're
about it.
okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But that's my story.
And
I didn't
Josh,
even understand that that was a bad thing when I was doing it. That's what's crazy.
that's probably why they wanted teenagers, right?
I guess.
And Josh, I'm glad you didn't fall into the fryer out of heat
Thank you. I
exhaustion.
actually have a cherry on top of this
Ooh.
story. So I worked at this job for about 2 3 months as well, and at the end, I was like, after that, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I, put in my 2 weeks notice. I thought that's what you did. Apparently, I beat out two other guys for the job that paid 5.25 an hour, and so they had to like completely redo all of their training and stuff for the cooks. It was fun.
Wow. Wow.
Good job. Man.
Thank you.
Fight that
Yeah.
out.
I think that's the
Yeah.
important thing is just get out.
Mm.
Don't wait around. If it sucks, it's get out. Mine, the worst job I had for a day, my worst job experience. I'll hit you with two real quick. Worst job is a car wash. I go through
Mhm.
training and I'm like so much slower than everybody else. And then at the end of my day of training, they're like, okay. So I was like, so when's my schedule? And they're like, well, you can be on call for nights to come clean the gutters once we close, which literally meant that I didn't know if I was going to work or not. No guarantee of hours. They would just call me and tell me if they need me to come show up at like 10 p.m. and clean out the gutters in the car wash. And I was one day and done. And that was like a $32 paycheck because of how little I got paid. Worst job experience. Not big business, not the fault of capitalism. There was a pizza place that we were reopening because it burnt down. And on the sign, there were birds because it had been closed. It had started to nest on the sign above the building. And I don't know if I've told you guys this story before. Apologize if I have, but the owner, there's not customers, which is why that's relevant. And the birds have been nesting there for a while, so it was home. he goes out front. He takes me out front. He's like, "All right, we're gonna shoot them down with this BB gun." And I was like, "Will you do it? I'm a bad shot." So he did it. Hits one of them, falls, and this pigeon didn't die. It didn't just get, it didn't get shooed away by getting hit with a BB pellet. It falls and it cracks his neck. So now we have a pigeon that's trying to walk around. And it's got a neck at a 90-degree angle.
No.
And here's what he had me do, and I'm not proud of it, but I did it. Took a trash bag. I got that pigeon in the trash bag. I bashed that pigeon against the side of this pizza place, which, mind you, shared this strip with a smoke shop and a pawn shop. And I bashed the pigeon until it died, and I put it in a dumpster. So
You animal.
I still
Yeah.
feel bad.
That's a story.
Did they at least give you a bonus for that bird murder?
No, but you know what? I ate so much free pizza. It was awesome. It was so awesome. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if I'll ever look at you the same.
Yeah, I feel bad about myself.
But the mustache makes a little bit more sense.
Because teenage trauma. Good point. He had a mustache.
Remember?
What?
Did your boss have a mustache?
He did.
No.
No, that'd be funny though if I had that breakthrough here and now. Also, I'm pointing out. Look, you can see my dog's butt. That's my dog's butt.
Cool.
All right, I'm sorry. Well,
Wow.
should we wrap it up?
I think so. I think we learned a lot today. We
Good.
learned about unions. We learned about Amazon. And we learned that Trevor is a bird murderer.
Oh,
You
Yeah,
shouldn't have
I
gone
did.
last.
I know.
Now that's what everyone's going to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right. Everyone, don't forget to like and subscribe. We love you. Appreciate the support. And Josh is going to make a Patreon soon. So
Right.
look out for that.
it's gonna be good. We can just watch you doing data analytics all day.
Yeah, like this. All it is.
Yeah, from your laptop camera. Okay.